week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last stunts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 407, Mr. Somich.
Aqueduct Huzzah!
Belmont at Aqueduct
No.
at the
No.
I don't understand. This is so stupid. Can we just, from this point on, can we just call this Aqueduct?
I love the fact that someone on the morning show, I'm sorry I'm not giving you credit for it, called it Royal Aqueduct. I kind of like that. I think that's a little fun way to play with it. But I refuse to call it Belmont at the Big A. That is ridiculous. And it's even more ridiculous that that's how they actually put it in the DRF programs. And it's even more ridiculous that the stats for the track are BAQ, but they're just all Aqueduct races. Like, what are we doing? Like, why are we trying to make this more difficult? Do you really think people are going to be like, oh, it's not Aqueduct, I'm going to bet more money now? Like, is that really the goal here?
It's not even like the same people own Belmont and Aqueduct. It's not like Churchill had it and it was like they have to lease it to a Stronach track this year. It's the same. I don't know. Though I will say, they didn't completely 100% screw this up. They are using Aqueduct stats. We at least have that. Like it's from that. That's really what matters the most to us. Like the other things are annoyances. At least statistically, it's all going to be the same. So at least and I'm a little surprised, Mike, with everything else that they did with this, you would have thought they would have just screwed that up too.
They should have just called it the Belmont Meet at Aqueduct. It would have been a lot easier, a lot cleaner instead of this whole, and then just put AQU and Aqueduct for the thing. And then everyone's happy, right? You mentioned the stats. I think this is interesting. We should get into this before we talk about this. How valuable do you think the stats are for Aqueduct, for specifically this meet where the purses are bigger and where the horses are better and the trainers have different stock there?
And I'll yes and that we're not used to running on this track at this time. So it's not like we can say, horses that have been at Aqueduct, if they've been on the turf, it's usually cold and almost frozen. Aqueduct hardly ever has turf racing. So can you compare that? It's kind of like when Keeneland had the July meet during COVID, where all of a sudden they're setting track record. It's like, yeah, it's not freaking April when they were doing this. Like, the 2-year-old races, they're July and not April when we're doing this. So a little bit of that to play into it too.
That's a good point. My perception of that Aqueduct dirt course is there's snow on the inside and outside of it, right? Like that's what I think of when I think of Aqueduct and the dirt. So very different conditions. And for instance, in the 7th race, there's in the 9th race that we're going to be covering today, there's an entry, and both of them have exceptional records at Aqueduct. Well, they were running in significantly lower pursed races, although it's about the same class level, or significantly lower pursed races at different times of the year with different conditions against different type of horses with different trainers there. Like, to me, that's some of these stats you got to be a little bit careful about because people are going to play that horse for course angle, and this ain't the same course. It ain't the same player. So it's like, I'm not sure you want to rely too much on that when we're looking at this Aqueduct meet. Maybe once we actually get a couple races, like maybe later in this meet, since this is going to be a long Aqueduct meet, you can rely a little bit more on it. But the purses, I assume, will switch at some point when this goes to regular Aqueduct instead of the Belmont at Aqueduct.
Yeah, you make a great point. I didn't even until you mentioned it, I didn't think about it. I didn't use any kind of Aqueduct angle. I didn't look at horses. I kind of looked at who they were competing against because I thought, well, we're not used to ever being here at Aqueduct right now. So who's in form from Saratoga? Who was spotted, 2 over their head at Belmont? So, that sort of thing. So, yeah, all good points. All right, you ready to get into this, buddy? We got a pick 5 show.
Let's do it.
All right, Saturday, a late pick 5. Belmont at Aqueduct. We're just going to call it Aqueduct's late pick 5 Saturday. We got the Jockey Club Derby and the Jockey Club Oaks. Riders up. And remember, if you want to be betting at Aqueduct or anywhere this weekend and you don't have a sign up yet, go to betptc.com, sign up using promo code DUDES, DUDES. When you bet $750, you get a $200 rebate right back to you. Also, all of the in-race rebates, they happen instantaneously, and that could help because a little chalky here. Maybe you want to play these a little race by race. My first leg of the late pick 5 at Royal Aqueduct, we can call it that. I think it was Lord Farquaad, by the way, who said that. Royal Aqueduct on Saturday, September 17th, race 7, the grade 3 Jockey Club Oaks Invitational. 6 3-year-old fillies going a mile and 3/8 on the inner turf. And by God, Mike, there's only one Chad Brown in here. It's McKulick, your 4-5 favorite.
Yeah, at least we know we won't get wired by a Chad Brown this time. So that's at least nice.
Don't you challenge Irad. Don't you do that.
No, he will not do it. Nostalgic will make the league. Or Kansas, one of the two. Anyway, I think the wrong horse is favored here. I'm going to go with Toscana Belle, and I'm going to single her right out of the gate against McKulick. Look, Into the Moonlight beat McKulick 2 back. I think Into the Moonlight is the better horse compared to McKulick. There's a reason Frankie Dettori is over here. That's to ride this horse. You know, the last time he rode at Aqueduct, I think it was 1990. So it's been a minute since he's been there. This horse was specifically shipped over for this race. I'll take European form over U.S. form. This horse looked phenomenal. I went back and watched the replay. Phenomenal in that debut, the 3-year-old debut, going a mile and 3/8 in Germany to win the Grade 1 German Oaks. I am going to take a little bit of shot in this entire sequence. I'm trying to beat 2 very short price favorites, and this is going to be the first one. I'm not willing to swallow 4-5 on McKulick when I've seen that horse just not get the job done against some of these European invaders before. I mean, Kansas I thought about, but again, like, wasn't that impressed with that, specifically that last race. So for me, I'm just going to go with the 4 and try and get through here with a pretty aggressive single to kick this thing off.
I would say Frankie Dettori is probably here to ride Nation's Pride
No,
in the Jockey Club Derby. Yeah. Here's the thing. Frankie Dettori, if you haven't been paying attention to Royal Ascot or like even just the major Group 1 races in Europe, he's pulling a Florent Giroux. He cannot ride to save his butt right now. And he got him fired from John Gosden for how poorly he was riding Stradivarius and some other horses at Royal Ascot. It hasn't been a good year for him. And that includes when he came to Belmont for the Belmont Oaks and the Belmont Derby. And he rode With the Moonlight, he rode Nation's Pride. And they were the best horses in those races. And he rode them to very bad second place finishes. Now, I will say the Derby was a little bit of an excuse because Classic Causeway had that stupid lone speed. But With the Moonlight was the best horse in the Belmont Oaks. Came back and beat McKulick when McKulick had a different kind of a trip. Irad gets the job done with McKulick. I'm a little worried that Frankie Dettori is going to have a couple of shit rides on a couple of horses that should win. I went 1-4 here because I don't trust Frankie Dettori to do something right with Toscana Belle. Like, if you look at her races too, and I know you watched it, the one time that she had that bad race, the Diana Trial, when she was, I say bad, she was way behind. She wasn't forwardly placed. Well, Frankie Dettori, you know how to do that. He's never ridden her. It looks like all of her best races were when she's forwardly placed. Baby, it's only 6 horses. How far back could he be?
That's famous last words right there. Look, man, if I was throwing out jockeys or not trusting jockeys, I'd never single Joel Rosario again. I mean, so there's certain things where you just got to be like, look, he throws in so many clunkers, although he's ridden very well today at Aqueduct. But I would never be able to single him again if I was following that theory. Yeah, like Dettori, I do not follow the European circuit as much as you do. Didn't realize he got fired off all of them. Don't love hearing that. But when these horses come over, they've been dominant. And I'm going to give him a pass. It's a smaller field. You don't need to be that strategic here. You just have to keep the horse out of trouble, be able to get a good run. I feel like this is a 2-horse race. I feel like they should be about the same price. One's 4-5, the other's 7-2. I'll take the 7-2 shot.
And I went chalkier than Mike did. I have a $36 ticket for a pick 5. So it's not, I went pretty shallow here with going with the chalk. So it's not like I went, chalk here and I've got a $200 ticket. As far as McKulick, you can look at her record. It is Chad Brown's possibly his best field filly right now. But it's also important to note that this is named after the very first employee Chad Brown ever hired when he went out on his own as a trainer, Mary McKulick, and she passed away, and they named this horse in her honor. And so when there is a person of distinction within the family like that who passes away and a horse is named after them, it means they've got talent. And she showed it in the Belmont Oaks. I'm going to, on the off chance Frankie Dettori screws things up. Are you worried at all about the 6 beside herself? Because I did look at her for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but like, that last race was just almost too easy. And so like the number comes back that's the best race that you've seen was 1.5 miles, but just got an absolute cakewalk of a lead and had to go 48 to the half, but then 114 to the 6 furlongs. Pratt did a wonderful job riding her that day, getting her out there and getting her loose. I feel like you have to take a huge step forward here. And I feel like there won't be a fast pace, but there's going to be a couple horses who are interested in the pace. And I think that's enough to keep this field pretty compact, but have it be reasonable at the same time, right? Where I think you're going to see 49 to the half, 113 to 6 furlongs. Maybe you see 114, but everyone's going to be within 2 or 3 lengths here. I don't see anyone getting away. And that's what happened with Beside Herself. She was 2 or 3 lengths up the vast majority of that race, able to control the pace all by herself. When they turned for home, they just didn't have a shot. I just don't think she gets it that easy today.
I don't like the price. Everything that you said, and add in that she was 8 to 1 last out, and now she's 4 to 1. Whereas Miss Yearwood, to her inside, was 4 to 1 last out, won nicely from off the pace, and is now 8 to 1. Like, to me, the price is too far off Beside Herself at 4 to 1. Especially, I agree with you. I think 7 to 2 is too high on Toscana Belle. She'll be a lot lower. But if looking at those two on paper, like, no, like which one do I want? I want the 4, 6 days a week and twice on Saturday.
Yeah, if I went, I mean, I could see going 4-1 here, but I would probably go 4-3 if I used another. I would use Candace, who I thought was really impressive, 2 back, and then I didn't love the trip we got last time, and so I would be, and I also think that the longer distance is significantly better for this horse. Like the 1 1/8 effort was the best effort you saw on the page. Cutting back to a mile, I thought was a little bit too short. 1 3/8 shouldn't be an issue. I would take a shot against the 1 and the 6 here with 3-4 if I was going to go too deep, but I'm playing a $48 ticket. I don't want to go crazy because I'm not using a 2 to 5 later. So hopefully we can get through this one and get through that one, and then we have coverage in the other 3 legs.
I remember Kanisi in the risk averse stakes. I think I was you or Aaron, whoever previewed that race was very big on Kanisi and was not happy with that right. It reminds me there, but I think she's a good horse to try and hit the board here. But as far as the win candidate goes, I'm with you. Let's move on. We've got the second leg of the late pick 5 at Royal Aqueduct on Saturday, September 17th. Race 8. It's a 6 furlong outer turf sprint for 9 males, 3 and up, non-winners of 1 other than. Where'd you go on top?
I went to the 9 horse Clickatek on top here. This is a 6-year-old. There's a lot of speed in this race, which you generally are going to see in these turf sprints, but a lot of speed that are coming out of maiden scores or moving into this level for the first time because they've just beat because they knocked off State Bred Company. They're going into Open Company. That's not something I love, either of those angles. Clickatek is one of those horses that is just kind of the consistent hard trier. Has been going longer than this, so I don't love the fact that we don't have that turf sprinting efforts that you've seen on the page, but has been showing speed longer and has closed well. This horse has run well off the layoff. This is his first time in the Linda Rice barn. She's 18% off the claim, 17% off this type of layoff. I think it's a great setup out of that 9 post. And I like the 5 to 1 price here. I feel like there's a couple horses that are going to get bet that I think you kind of take a shot against.
I went 3 deep here. Wasn't my top pick, but definitely made my pick here. I actually think the 6 furlongs is going to be good for him. This might be sneaky. That 7 furlong cutting back, it almost seemed like it woke this horse up. He hadn't gone 1 turn in a long time against this level of competition. And so now we're cut back a furlong. He's learned I can hang back in 1 turn and I can get this done. And hey, I win. It's fun. Linda Rice knows how to handle the turf sprinters. I don't mind that it's Junior Alvarado riding versus Lascano. I know he rides pretty often for her, but he's got the 3 to 1, if not the favorite, the second choice. Yeah, 3 to 1 favorite here. So I understand why he's riding that instead of the 9. I'm with you on this one. Who's your next one?
I went with the inside horse King Angelo. This is one where Lascano's on. It's 3 to 1. You mentioned that it won its last race in the State Bred optional 2X, and now jumping into the Open Company 1X allowance. Again, not one of the more preferable plays for me, but the problem is those last 2 races are both good enough to win this, and that you don't have anyone else. If he runs the last race, that's going to be tough to beat. I don't know if this horse needs the lead. I'm hoping that he doesn't, because if he does, it could be a little bit of trouble there. But like I said, you've got 2 races on paper that beat this field. I don't love the price, but if I'm going to fade 2 other favorites, I don't mind playing a chalkier leg here with a 3 to 1 if I'm leaving out a 4 to 5 and a 2 to 5.
I was afraid of any horse that I thought might need the lead or might get caught in a speed duel, and that includes the 1. I figured Looking at this at first, you open the PPs and you get to the first horse, and it's you see, all right, rail horse, 3-1 favorite, 111 early time for him. You look at the running lines, you're like, gee, this horse could go gate to wire, go straight out of the. And then you look at who else is in there, and you go, well, 2 likes to do that, and the 4 sometimes has done that. But the 6 likes to do that. The 7 likes to. The 8 likes to do that. Like, it starts running into like a lot of horses like to do this, and enough of them with that horse being buried on the rail. That's why I'm taking a shot against him at 3-1. But he is, I think you said it, the best speed horse. He is the best of the speed.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what trip he gets here. And that's going to be a big key to it. The race 2 back, like Surprise Boss, very, very good horse. Jumped into Stakes Company after that. So it faced good horses in the New York State bred races, at least. I'm hoping, like I said, this horse can stalk, because that's really the way that you can get it done. It was off the pace 2 back, wasn't able to get by all of them, but was chasing Surprise Boss well, right? And so I'm hoping we can go back to that and get into that type of form versus having to just go, go, go. We'll see what happens, because you're going to see quite a few in here. Go, go, go.
Next, I will tell you my top pick, because I don't think he used. It's going to be the 4 Phantom Smoke, and I'm using this horse thinking that he has shown that he doesn't need to be on the lead. I know last time out he won gate to wire, but you can look back when 6 furlongs on the inner at Belmont, not winners of 1, wins that from stalking position. Next out, almost wins again, misses by a nose with that same running style over this same course. I'm going to use this horse because it's Christophe Clement. He had a great meet at not the meet that he thought he was going to, that was Shug. Christophe Clement did have a great meet. He is great with the turf sprinters, might be possibly the best turf sprint trainer in New York. And Flavien Prat, this, he was great on dirt and on turf all meet long. I think we're sitting on a good effort here.
Yeah, it's got to find some improvement. And that was my biggest issue. There's not a single race on the page that wins this. And so you have to, I think you're going to need to take a step forward at some point. That's why I ended up leaving this horse off. I don't love the taking a step from state bred to open. I'm willing to do it with the 1 who beat the 4 2 back. I'm not willing to do it with the 4 who doesn't have a race on the page to beat me. And that's essentially why I ended up leaving the 4 off. The next on for me was the 5 Maritime Wings. Yeah. This is a big swing. I mean, I get it. This is a big swing. The race 2 back faced Big Invasion, left the O'Brien barn, now went into the Pletcher barn, took a little bit of a break, went out at a mile. We're going to cut back today to 6 furlongs. I think that cutback's going to help. And I think all the speed in this race is going to help as well. I'm hoping that Maritime Wings is just flying late and picking up some pieces and able to get by here at 10-1.
Yeah, I'm with you. I went 3 deep, and this is the other one that I used here. Wins his debut going 7 furlong sprint, but then his next 2 starts, a Group 2, a Group 3, he finishes second, and both of them to the same horse. Point Lonsdale, I think, might have been 2-year-old of the year. It was up there for 2-year-old of the year in Europe. It comes over here, the first race. It's a 7 furlong sprint. He doesn't do well. He's last throughout. You know why? Big Invasion was in there and got a good ride. That's why Big Invasion won. Next time out, he tries 2 turns at Saratoga. It doesn't work out, just like going a mile at Leopardstown was very poor for him. I'm with you. I think this, especially 6 furlongs, I think it's really going to wake this horse up. Pletcher is not an idiot. I really, the cut back on distance, the 10-1. Let's do it. Let's get this horse home.
Yep. One more for me. That was Gianni Lambo. This is the other Pletcher. This horse won on debut, impressively in open company. Now we're going to come back. This is where IRAD lands. The American Pharaoh, 3-year-old. I mean, I don't want this horse to beat me, especially at 8-1. I think there's enough things to like here, especially if I'm playing the 5 and the 8 is going to be in the race. We don't know if this 8 needs the lead. We just know the 8 is good enough to win on the lead. And that, to me, is the key there. You're almost treating this like a first-time starter, but he fired out of the gates early, was able to win as a first-time starter. Now we're coming back off this long layoff. Since Pletcher has 2 in here, and I want to use the other one, I don't feel like I can leave this one off my ticket responsibly.
If the tote flashes and this horse is like 3-1 on first, I'm going to go, shit.
Watch the daily doubles. If the daily doubles are getting played, this is a live horse.
That's a good one. I thought if there's one horse that I left off that's going to beat me, it's this one. But he was a 3-year-old beating straight 2-year-olds. It was when he raced actually, and now he's facing older horse. It's a big step up. He can if he is fantastic, I'll let him beat me. And at 8-1, I understand why you're throwing him in there. I'm not going to try and talk anybody off him, especially 8-1 like that. But
you got to think Iraq got off the 4 for him. I mean, that like there's enough here that you're like, ooh, like this horse could totally pop off. If there's one I'm scared of, it's actually.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you didn't see the I read thing, did you?
Well, I did it, but I didn't. It hadn't computed. I saw them, but you had to connect the thread for me there. Yeah.
I'm sure that he got offered that mount on Phantom Smoke. The one that scares me is the 3 Outlaw Kid. Again, I don't love playing maiden special weight into winners for the first time, but nice race there. Was able to come from off the pace. Java Buzz, who ends up running third there, is a Chad Brown turf sprinter who's supposed to be good and hasn't really turned it around yet, but it's supposed to be good. Second off a layoff, $220,000 son of violence, who loves to create some pretty good turf sprinters with a City Zip mare on the bottom, was able to stalk and close last time. Outlaw Kid would be the one I'm scared of that I'm leaving off.
I just saw you made good points. I don't love the fact that he on his debut was at one price, and then off of that, thinking maybe he'll improve second out, everybody just left him alone. It seemed like it took everybody by surprise. I didn't use the 8, so I am more worried about him than this one, but I understand you use him, so you can't qualify for that. I was laughing because I saw Chris Maiolo's comment from earlier. Sometimes European riders having to deal with 2 turns. It's like a NASCAR driver trying to turn right. They're used to it. It ends in a wreck and disappointment. Yeah, lots of torn up tickets too. All right, Mike, let's move on. This is going to be an interesting one. This is where we have no agreement. The third leg of Lapik 5 at Royal Aqueduct, Saturday, September 17th. Race 9. It's a 7 furlong dirt sprint for 8 males, 3 and up. Non-winners and one other than. You notice here, Gustavo Rodriguez has a coupled entry. Alvarado's named on both of them. I'm going to assume only one of them runs. It doesn't really matter, I don't think, because number 7, Expressman, who's breaking from post 8, is your 2-5 favorite, Todd Pletcher, Javier Kessler. If you remember this horse from Saratoga, 7 furlong, debut winner, 7 1/4 lengths. He had he was coupled entry, a horse that we both loved. That horse finished second, and he just finished racing like yesterday, trying to finish that race. That's how badly
he got a 103 buyer. Or no, it was 97 buyer.
Huge buyer for this horse. I'm singling him, and then I'm going to throw it to you for why you tell me why I don't like him. And to me, a 20% regression from that at this same distance, he still wins this. So I'm going to use him. Now tell me why you're playing against him.
I'm going to completely leave him off the ticket. I actually did a video about this, maybe a month ago, something like that. This is the most overbet type of horse at the Naira circuit consistently. The monster debut win, then moving up to N1X allowance with an inflated number, because there's no way, the race was awesome, but 107 is ridiculous. Like, let's be honest, we're not running a 107 again. And if we are really running a 107 again, we would be in a graded stakes right now. We wouldn't be in an N1X allowance, so we could be prepping for the Breeders' Cup. Okay. So the Pletcher is kind of tipping his hand in my mind of where he feels this horse is at by not going into a graded stakes. This is a 3-year-old. It's not like you have anything to wait for here. It's not like it's the 2-year-old and you got to try and go through it. This is a 3-year-old that you wanted to get to the Breeders' Cup, probably toward the Breeders' Cup sprint, if that 107 is legit in Pletcher's mind. So I don't think that Pletcher necessarily think this horse is as talented as he showed in debut. I'm willing to take a shot here at a horse that's going to be 1-9 in this race, where there is a bleeping load of speed. I mean, Dots, Dollar, and Prisoner are fast. They are going to absolutely go. I would be shocked if Expressman's able to get the same easy type of lead. And then it's going to be whether or not we can get this 7 furlongs with the pressure that we're going to face while going faster against winners. And you have to answer all of those questions at 1-9. To me, that's where you got to draw the line. You got to try and find a way to get around this horse. Long term, you're going to lose money on a horse like this, unless this is the next superstar, right? And I just don't think that this is where you'd place this horse if it was the next superstar. I think you'd be in a graded stakes right now. So I'm going to try and get around Expressman. The problem is I can't use the 3. I can't use the 4. I can't use the 1, right? So I'm going to use the 2 Chad Brown horses, and hopefully one of them can get home. Nabokov, this horse was pretty touted coming out of the win at Belmont, going a mile and a 16th. Was able to go gate to wire, jump right into the Dwyer. Look, that was a little bit too off the deep end. Then we went a mile and an 1/8 for some reason. Not really sure why we went with that direction. Now we're cutting back to 7 furlongs. This horse has speed and can pass horses. That's exactly what I want in a race where I think that the favorite, who is going to be really short price, is going to take a ton of speed pressure from the 4 and the 5. So if the 7 can rate, I might be in trouble here. But if the 7 goes again, and that is exactly what happened last time with Castellano on this horse, I'm hoping the 3 and 4 can go, and that Nabokov and McKulick are sitting right behind those 3, and one of them doesn't suck. That's what we're rooting for here. Is that either the 2 or the 5 can get by. I don't have a ton of faith in the 4 or the 5. Don't have a ton of faith in the 6. The entry of the 1 is a step below these horses. Great records at Aqueduct, but that's Aqueduct. That's not purse size like this Aqueduct. So I'm going to take a shot and see if we can get around this 2 to 5 shot.
I think if you're going to take a shot, the 2 is where I would go. You, sir, ripped Nabokov's poor little hiney to shreds when we were previewing the Dwyer, saying how trashy that main special weight win was because he got everything his own way, and that was the only way he was going to win. And you didn't think he'd do it in the Dwyer, and he didn't. I still remember that when I see this.
I was right. What happened in the Dwyer?
Here's the thing about what you said about Expressman. You said he should be in a stakes race if he was good enough. If he went to what like an ungraded stakes, right? There's probably not. You're not going to throw him in a grade 1, right?
Oh yeah, I am.
You would have thrown him into a grade 1 off of that race.
Yes. Name the other sprinters that are 3-year-olds and up running 107 buyers.
Aaron's in
Jackie's
the chat. I should have
Warrior.
Aaron probably knows. Aaron's already typing some up. So.
I mean, it's Jackie's Warrior. It's Jack Christopher. Those are the numbers that those guys are running. Jackie's Warrior got a 109. Jack Christopher got a 108 last time.
Where I was trying to go with this is I was going to say, if he goes to a stakes, the purse is probably what, $150,000. This purse is over $100,000.
Yeah,
this isn't your Aqueduct adequate $70,000 allowance. This is 100. What are they going 105,000 or something like that? So, there you go. Thank you.
Well, of course, Aaron says Expressman's a single. This is going to be the best bet on the. This is going to be the fast track or whatever on the website.
What is it? Oh, the power play. That's what
power play. There it is.
I have a fast track. Listen, let us know in the chat, or if you're listening back, tell us in the comment section what you're going to do. I think regardless, if all the favorites in this entire leg, Mike and I agree, you either single this horse or you're completely against. You cannot use value-wise this unless you go 7-6 and you really believe that 5-pound allowance on Capone's going to get the job done. Then God bless you.
And to be absolutely clear, the most likely winner of this race is Expressman. I'm totally fine with but Expressman at 1-9 in the pick 5, which is what this horse is going to be. This horse is going to be singled up and down this whole thing. Has to win 90% of the time to be able to be any type of value on your ticket. And with that, you also probably can't play McKulick, because if you're playing both of them as singles, then all of a sudden you have to get miraculous results. And guess what? Everyone else in the world will be singling both of those 2 horses. So it's how do you create a structure here to get around it? Long term, the 7 as a single is a losing proposition. Now, maybe today it won't be, right? But that's one of my main reasons why I'm not using the 7 here. It's not because I don't think the horse wins 70 to 75% of the time. I think the expected return on that 70% of the time is wildly lower than what you're going to see in the pool says from a ticket count.
But see, 90% of the time, it's not Todd Pletcher training the horse. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. I'm not doing that. I'm just kidding. I do want to go real quick before we move on. Chris Milo has a theory that might actually not be too far off. He says Pletcher is secretly saving Expressman for the Cigar Mile because Life is Good is a coward headed for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Mike Somich, your thoughts?
I have no idea where he's going. That's incorrect. That's foolish thinking there. I'm assuming that's Aaron, and we could have this argument at some point because we've had it before.
It's not me.
I know it's Aaron because this is what he says. He loves that. Well, a losing ticket has no value. That's not correct. There are examples all the time in sports betting specifically where losing tickets have value, and there's examples for horse trading where losing tickets have value because it was the correct EV play in the long run. If you play it one time, yeah, you're right. A loser's a loser. If you play it 500 times, not every loser's a loser.
Tons of value during when COVID first hit too. You couldn't find toilet paper anywhere. All those losing tickets, so much value with those losing tickets. Penultimate leg of the late pick 5 at Royal Aqueduct on Saturday, September 17th. Mike, it's race 10, the grade 3 Jockey Club Derby for 6 3-year-old males going 1.5 miles on the inner turf. We went from only one Chad Brown in a big race in New York to no Chad Browns. Where are all the Chad Browns? They're all hiding. This is a rubber match. This is what we care about. Classic Causeway, Nation's Pride. We're going to settle it here on the field. Where are you going on top?
I thought this race was a little tricky. I'm going to go with Nation's Pride on top. I think Classic Causeway gets loose. I'm scared of Classic Causeway being able to go gate to wire. I think it's interesting that Pratt takes them out. I'm going to go 3 deep here because I have the bullets to be able to, and I want to make sure I get through this race. And I think there are 3 logical horses here. But Nation's Pride was phenomenal last time out, was able to get by and looked very, very good doing it. I think Nation's Pride is your most likely winner. But, someone told me that Frankie Dettori can't ride anymore. So I'm a little scared that he's just going to get outridden here.
I didn't single. I'm a little, this horse freaking lost. Again, it's not the biggest reason lost. The Classic Causeway had that stupid lead. Here's the difference between the Belmont Derby when he did have he being Classic Causeway. When Classic Causeway had the lone speed, there were 11 other horses in that race. There's 5 other horses. And something that Aaron taught me is that when you have these long turf or dirt races, but especially on turf, and you've got 5-6 horses in them, unless one completely eats shit out of the gate, they don't spread out. It's not like dirt where you can have a huge, distance to the first to last. They always end up staying in a pack. So all Frankie Dettori needs to do is mimic William Buick's trip from the Saratoga Derby, keep him that close. If you look at the 3 times that Nation's Pride has raced in fields that were 6 horses or 4 horses or 4 horses, he won every single one of them because he didn't have to try and come from back. Just Frankie Dettori, just keep him close. Just do the William Buick. That's all you have to do. It's like Joel Rosario. Don't fall off. Dettori, just do the William Buick. That's all you have to do.
And you hope he's going to be close and doesn't need to press the pace. Because I feel like if he's within a length and doesn't get a significantly worse trip, he passes Classic Causeway down the lane. Now, the question is it going to be within a length? And what's that trip going to be like? I would hope that he saves ground one of the turns. But even if he sits a length on the outside flank of Classic Causeway, I think he's better down the lane. Now, if Classic Causeway gets out by 2.5 lengths, and there is some type of issue with Nation's Pride, Classic Causeway could wire this field. I mean, that doesn't seem like it's out of the realm of possibility here. So I'm going to use the 1 Classic Causeway. We're both using the 3. I use the 6 Artican 2 here, who I thought had some really nice races over there in Germany and has been taking a step forward every single race. I love the fact that they brought this horse over here to run in this spot. I'm not sure where this horse is going to run. I watched 3 of the replays. One was in the front, one was in the back, one was in the middle. Didn't really help me very much. But this is, to me, that wild card, right? Where if this horse comes over and wins, and I'm somehow able to get around that 7 last race, all of a sudden this thing is paying. And to me, I don't want to leave this one off when I'm only playing a $48 ticket.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that. Another was going to say that the Italy form comes over here and just is absolutely fantastic. But a 2-time Group Stakes winner over there. The German Derby. This horse got a poor trip. It was a 20-horse field in a Derby. Does that sound like a familiar thing? Let's just scratch that off. Like it would be the Kentucky Derby. A very solid effort versus older horses in a Group 1. And then also the winner of the German Derby repeated next out in a Group 1 versus older horses as well. The jockey, Andrich Stark, I saw has got 1 win in 1 mount. And I was like, who the hell is this guy? What was he riding? Flew in, rode a German horse to win the Belmont Gold Cup. Flew in for 1 race with 1 German horse, rode it to victory. Everything you said plus that, it's enough for me to put it on my ticket as well.
Yeah, Rebels Romance, you mentioned. 3 for 3 is the 4-year-old that beat it last time out. So you got an older 4-year-old that beat it in a Grade 1. Well, this horse is improving, and they decide to send it over here to take a shot at $1 million purse. I don't want to get beat by that horse.
Dennis brings up an excellent point. He says, I think the 6 Artican is a let's see where we are with this horse and see if he can be a Breeders' Cup type horse. They did the same damn thing with Yabir. And we all discounted Yabir in the Breeders' Cup Turf, and he came back, and they're like, no, we know what we got. We know what we're doing here. That's a great point there, Dennis. I went 3 deep here. I also used the Grand Motion for the Gray Wizard, and it's because why is this horse in here? If you look at the form, you're like, boy, this really is the first level allowance, and you weren't competitive. This horse broke terribly, very slowly in both those starts. Also, again, much bigger fields, going back to the fact that we are a 6-horse field. This horse, even a little bit of a slow break with Luis Saez aboard, it's not that likely. Saez should keep this horse engaged. He should be in touch with these. He could be forwardly placed early. If he actually gets a real clean break, he could be, up there pressing Classic Causeway. And we've seen with Classic Causeway, if he doesn't get that super easy lead and get to gallop about with his ears pricked, if someone starts challenging before he turns for home, he throws in the towel. The Gray Wizard could be the horse that gets the first run on him. Saez hopping aboard, I think, is a difference maker. Whether or not it's enough to get this job done here at this price, and I think he's going to be double digits easily by the time the race goes off. I'm willing to take a shot.
Yeah. This horse is slower than me right now out of the gate, and that's the biggest problem I have. Like, there is no pace in this race, and this horse has no pace at all. A 12 time form early figure is epically low. I don't think I've seen any single figures. That might be the lowest I've ever seen. You sometimes
Sadler's
see
Joy. Sadler's Joy was a single figure.
You sometimes see zeros late, but you rarely see anything that low early. I agree with you. I looked at this one for a little bit because I'm like, what the hell is this horse doing here? But I couldn't get there, man. I think there's a little too much class here. I think that this one might have been one that hit the entry box. They saw it was 6 and they decided to run.
I mean, maybe it's just not Grand Motion style to do that. Like, that's not something. If his horse is going to be completely in without a chance, I know it's Eclipse Thoroughbred, but and Aaron Wellman can be a bit ambitious with his horses. But man, I think it's Grand Motion. Anyways, a big step up for him. It's something to be hard to do. Let's move on. We've got one more final leg. We've got the 5th and final leg of the late pick 5 at Aqueduct on Saturday, September 17th, race 11. This is a 6 furlong outer turf sprint, 9 New York bred maiden fillies, 3-0. The world is okay, Mike. We have New York bred maidens on the turf, ending the sequence here. 7-5 favorite on the 8 Royal Dancer. Really hasn't run a bad race in her life. 2 near misses, in stakes races. I'm not using her.
You're not using Royal Dancer, the 8?
I'm not.
Oh, I have her on top. Oh boy, this is trouble. Yeah, look,
I'm crazy. That's why. Go ahead.
That last race was a stakes race. It was good enough to win this race. The 2 back before that were probably good enough to win this race. I don't love this horse at 7-5, but I don't really love much in this race. It's why I took a shot in a couple other places that I'm taking shots in. The fact of the matter is, like, the horse's numbers stand over this field. And I think that you're going to see this one is one where it's just like, look, probably runs away from him. This is what I thought this was one of the better favorites in here from a value to win percentage perspective. I wouldn't mind singling the 8 here if I was going deeper in other legs to try and get a little crazy. But yeah, I felt like Royal Dancer was a pretty good fit with this field, especially coming out of Stakes Company.
I do not like her at 7-5 at 6 furlongs. I think the distance is going to be what her worst spot. If you look at her races when she went 5.5 against straight maidens at Saratoga, she was second. She ended up fading to be 3.5 lengths behind the winner. When she went 6 furlongs in her debut, she was bumped at the break and everything, but she still was never involved, never that close. I think the 6 furlongs is a little too short for her. So that's why I'm taking a shot against her. Also, I'm very chalky in the rest of my ticket. I got to take a shot somewhere. So I'm not going to use her here. But if you wanted to use her, I think this is a horse that you need to go a leg where you need to go very short if you do use her.
Now, I see Aaron down there. Aaron, do you want to have the Expressman debate after we're done doing this? Yeah, that's why I figured you jumped in the background. All right, we can have a little fun after this. All right, I'm going to go with Ard Macha, I believe it is, the 9. This is my second choice here.
Yeah.
But Pratt picks up this mount, and you got Abreu coming back off of a decent amount of a layoff. This Candy Ride horse, very good of a turf sprinting. Abreu, very good turf sprinting. I would expect we're going to see a pretty decent step forward here. That Silk and Dollar race, 2 back, actually has been pretty productive from a race perspective. So I'm willing to take a shot here. And I think we're getting a decent price here. I think that 8-1 number is pretty good considering you could logically take a decent step forward.
My second choice as well, you mentioned is by Candy Ride. His horse is a half to 2 horses who are multiple turf sprint winners. One of them is by Twirling Candy, a son of Candy Ride. So got the connection there. Was bet down to 4-1 for her second start. Now we're getting this price. Okay. Yeah. No, sign me up. I love it. Who's your next one?
4-horse, Shinful. Look, if I'm going to play the 8 Royal Dancer, I'm going to play the horse Ired's leaving to ride. And that's the case here. The 4 Shinful makes a ton of sense. Second off the layoff. The barn doesn't turf sprint rarely. 4 turf sprints the last 5 years, which is kind of crazy. But that last race was pretty good. And the race 2 back was in a stakes race. And I like the fact that race back was good enough to fit with this group. We need to take a step forward, but this may be your inside speed as well. And if this horse gets the lead, I think all of a sudden we're a little bit dangerous. Royal Dancer will probably try and go, but Shinful has the post position to try and make it hard in Royal Dancer if he wants to.
This was my top pick here. The 2 prior starts when Irad was aboard were the best starts that this horse, or the best results that this horse had. Also, the 2 times this horse had Lasix. I don't know which one of those is a coincidence. Maybe they both are, but we're also getting Lasix along with Irad here. Now we're second off the layoff, and like you said, Irad is leaving He's the 7-5 favorite, who I'm not using for this horse. To me, I see value at 9-2. I'm like, that's fantastic for all those things involved. Did you use any other horses?
I did. I used the 3 True Martini here. First time starter, a little bit of a shot here. We're getting 12-1 on the morning line. But you've got the barn is 10% first time starters, but a positive ROI. Positive ROI first time turf, $4.82. Positive ROI turf sprinting, $2.64. I actually like Jose Gomez on these turf sprinting first time starters because he's able to get the weight break and has gotten a couple of them home. I think he's done pretty good as a bug. He was pretty good at Saratoga. And I like the breeding. This is a Lauban out of Smart Strike, should be able to handle the turf sprinting turf sprinting well. And look, if Royal Dancer isn't good, this race is wide open. And it's the first time starter could easily jump up here and knock this field off. The one I liked the most was the 3.
I didn't use a first-time starter, but you also have a daughter of Lauban. The Laubans always win early. Can win early, just like Lauban himself did. So you got that Uncle Mo bloodline going there as well. For me, I've got 2 more. I did use the 1 Royal Currency for Charlie Baker. I thought it was interesting that this horse, after 8 starts on dirt, they're like, all right, we're finally going to put this horse on turf. And a really terrible bad break, bumped pretty hard. Thank you very much. Got checked back. And then, this horse was, if you look at the running line on dirt, this horse liked to be forwardly placed. So the horse kind of got completely taken out and yet still ended up passing horses. I know you had a Road to Remember take off. Shinful ends up getting second in that race, but not a terrible effort, didn't quit. And we come back on turf. They're like, okay, Saez didn't tell us to stay back on dirt with this horse, even though Saez is on a different horse. Loscano was going to be back aboard. Loscano showed at Kentucky Downs he can even win if he's riding in a goat field. And Aqueduct's turf, I haven't seen it in a while, but it's got to be at least as good as a goat field. So, yeah, Charlie Baker is 0 for 35 on the turf. I know that's a big old goose egg there, but maybe he'll go 1 for 36, Mike.
This horse just seems to like to run second, and that's kind of where why I decided to leave him off the ticket. He's got 9 starts, 5 seconds, 1/3, loves to hit the board, loves to try, not good enough to win. So just keeps collecting checks, but can't get into the winner's circle. I don't love the 1 post either. That's my other issue. You're right. This horse wants to be more forwardly placed. This horse is not the fastest horse in the field. It's probably the 3rd fastest of the inside 4, and we don't even know what True Martini is going to be like from a speed perspective. So I have a hard time figuring out the trip that the 1's going to work out here to be able to beat this field with the lack of interest in passing horses.
Last one for me is the 7 Lemon Red at 8-1. And you usually don't think, leaving Chad Brown, that's the horse I want to use next time out. Chad Brown's not a turf sprint trainer, and this horse did not change ownership. They just decided maybe Chad Brown, after that 1 race at Gulfstream Park where broke slowly and never picked up her feet, looked like she was just running on empty the whole time. Chad Brown probably was like, this is a turf sprinter, and I don't do turf sprinters. You know who does? Horatio DePaz. He's 19% with a really strong ROI. He's pretty great when he gets them first time in the barn, 18% with an almost $3 ROI. He's great when Trevor McCarthy rides for him, 23%, whether they're at Aqueduct or they're on the road elsewhere. Again, positive ROIs. My Filly Twirl, the horse that won that race, ended up going, she was gate to wire that day, ended up winning her next 2 starts as well, including a stakes race at Gulfstream Park. So a very good filly ended up winning that. I'm taking a flyer that at 8-1, they looked at this horse and just were like, you know what? We should try her sprinting, because by the time she got done to it, doing a second turn, she had nothing there.
I don't hate it. I considered using the 7 as well. All the reasons you said. Good turf sprinting trainer, good off the bench. McCarthy's good with him. I like Lemon Drop Kids. So I thought this was a reasonable use. You muted your microphone, but Magic's about to give his ticket out, and we've got him scrolling right down below. Or he will when he comes back up and hits the button to make them scroll right down below.
No. Oh, they're good.
He hasn't even done that yet. No, he thought he did that, and that's why he did the point. There's the ticket scrolling right down below. I'll go first to give mine out. I'm going to play a 50-cent pick 5. I'm going to single the 4. Go 1, 5, 8, 9 with 2, 5 with 1, 3, 6 with 3, 4, 8, 9. It'll cost you $48.50. Magic, tell us your ticket.
I did. I'm going to go 1, 4 with 4, 5, 9 with 7 with 3, 4, 6 with 1, 4, 7, 9, $36 for me. We're going a little chalky because we think it could go that way. Press your opinions. If you've got strong opinions in any of these races, press them on your tickets and tell us in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us what's going on. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Kalleward. He's at Somobomb 18, number 8. And we're about to talk some football. Do you have any other horse racing thoughts?
Well, we should pull Aaron in so he can talk about Expressman real quick and why he thinks that that's a must single horse.
Okay, he's ready.
Well, hello.
Aaron Halterman.
How is everybody?
Doing well.
Magic Club. Now, to be fair, I thought you were doing the pick 4, so I was looking at that. I didn't realize I got in late, right?
Okay.
He's the single in this sequence. Here's why I would say that. This is not a great sequence.
Correct.
I think McKulick has a good shot to get beat.
Okay.
The 8th race, that's anybody's race. 9th race, he's a overwhelming standout. I think you could beat Nation's Pride with the 6 in that one. I mean, you're going to have to use 2 chalks for sure.
Well, let's just talk about that race specifically.
Okay, that's fine.
What percent of the time do you think Expressman wins that race?
100% of the time.
Okay, well, that's incorrect. What percent of times do you really think Expressman wins that race?
Well, listen, here's the deal. I certainly think Expressman, if he was to run back to that race, this feels so bad. I really honestly believe, I know what you're going to try to argue. I think he's winning this race 9 times out of 10. I really do.
Then you're right. Then in your opinion, he is a stone cold single. You're correct if you think he's going to win 9 out of 10. I think he's going to win 75% of the time. So if I think he's going to win 75% of the time and he's going to be 1-9 in the pick 5, it would be bad for me to use the horse because I'm getting negative 15% value just in that simple math part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if I thought this horse was going to be 1-2, I would be singling Expressman. But I think Expressman is going to be singled on the mass majority of these tickets. And I'm not going to play a big ticket because I think Expressman is your most likely winner. But I do believe there is a sizable edge of the actual win odds for Expressman and the number of tickets he's going to be on. Now, if you think he's going to win 90% of the time, we have different opinions on that. And then the structure becomes different. But I don't believe the 107 buyer. I don't believe that he would be in this race if he was that good. And I think there's other speed in here that can actually go with him early, and he didn't have to face that in Saratoga.
Where do you think he should go? I missed that. I got in very late. I just got in where I heard you weren't using. Where do you think he should be, or where he could have gone?
I think if he was that good, he'd be in graded stakes.
I mean, the problem is with the Pledger Barn, you do have other horses that are going to fill those races, like at Parks coming up next week. He's got some for that. Maybe you wait till Keeneland. I don't know. The races are pretty tough that he would have to be in. That's the thing. I guess I get it. I kind of think you're reading too much into the entry part of it. It's a big allowance. It's a nice stepping stone. It's the same distance that he broke his maiden in. That's a factor as well. This was a horse you liked, ironically enough, big time on debut. So I don't know. I
would have him in a grade 1 if I thought he was that good, because my goal for him would be the Breeders' Cup Sprint, where Pletcher doesn't have a horse. And so I don't know. I don't have the stakes race schedule in front of me.
No, I'm pulling it up. Go ahead, keep talking. I'm pulling it up.
I would be wanting to figure out if I thought he was that good. If I really thought he could run a 107, because like I asked Magic, tell me the other horses that have run a 107 buyer this year sprinting. The list is pretty damn short, and it's pretty damn good. So if you think that this horse is actually that good, are you really running back an N1X allowance? Or are you doing like what Chad Brown did with some of his 3-year-olds, where he wanted to get into the Travers and push the envelope to see how good they were? The goal for this horse, if you think they're that good, is the Breeders' Cup.
I gotta disagree. I think a lot of that pushing of a 3-year-old happens because of that Triple Crown Trail, and in some cases the lucrative 3-year-old sprints that happen on the undercard of those races. But this horse, I don't think you're taking him, third start to a Breeders' Cup race. I really don't. Dennis might be right. The Cigar Mile could make a lot of sense for this horse. I don't think they have that motivation to push at this time of the year with a 3-year-old.
That's fair. I would be pushing with a 3-year-old, and that's where I guess my personal or my personal thought process might affect my overall opinion. But for me, if it's this good, if he's that good,
the race you could take him to is the Gallant Bob next weekend. It's a grade 2 race at Parks, $300,000 purse. And yeah, if he wins that race, all of a sudden you might have a Breeders' Cup horse on your hands here. I could see it. Again, I don't necessarily agree, but I'm just kind of looking at races that maybe he could have went. That's about, I mean, it's pretty light as far as 3-year-old stakes races here.
Well, you could face
you could try older horses.
You could. I mean, I guess for me, I guess it's really about what you're going for with the horse. Now, if your plan is you want to have this 4-year-old campaign where you go to the Malibu and you try and find races in the 4-year-old season and lead up to a Breeders' Cup Sprint, then maybe you handle this horse differently, right? But 107, that number specifically, when you see that, it's going to get bet off the freaking board when people see that number from that race.
Sure. Yeah.
And for me, I don't believe that number is true. I don't think Pletcher thinks that horse is that good.
See, I think it's something else that I think subconsciously you're not realizing. You hate horses second out getting overbet and allowances off one race.
Oh, I said that when I was doing my handicap.
Okay.
I said this is the most overbet type of horse.
Yes,
Naira. And this is one that I consistently fade. And this is an ultra example of it because the number is so monstrous that anyone who handicaps is going to see this monstrous number. This horse is going to be on 90% at least of the pick 4 and pick 5 tickets.
Well, the last time that not the last time, but one of the last times that you hit a nice ticket, you faded a horse that was similar to this. And that's why you did it. And that's why it hit, I should say, for the price that it hit, I should say. So I get it. I think, well, listen, you're taking a small swing, right? It's not like you're playing $100 ticket with him out. So I get it. I mean, there's value in the ticket. You're not going to lose money if you hit that ticket.
And you know what you could do with my ticket? If you part of this is like, if you want to really be aggressive on how you structure this, I'm singling the 4 in the first leg. I'm trying to get around McKulick there, right? You could play a $2 ticket with the 4 singled and the 7 singled here, and then play back a 50-cent ticket with the 4 singled and leaving the 7 off. So you're playing it to where if the 7 wins, you still have $2. It will pay significantly less, obviously, with the 7 winning. So the value of the hit will still be higher if the 7 loses, but you have some type of backup, and that ticket's going to be awfully cheap too.
Yeah, you could almost. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, but you could almost play a $10 ticket in this spot. You really could, because I know Magic left him off. But I mean, Royal Dancer is a big time standout in that race. Tough time finishing races, and maybe Magic's right, but he looks like a standout. I think if Dettori isn't a total jackass, Nation Pride's going to win that race. I think maybe the 6, but and then Expressman, and then like I said, the 8th race would be tough to narrow down, but that's the risk that you're taking, right? You're trying to go narrow there in a race and try to hope to just get through if you're playing a high denomination. But I think end of the day, you've had success fading horses like this in the past. So it's hard for me to get on here and go, don't do it when you've had success, right?
And to me, it's all about what percentage time you think the horse is going to win versus what percent of the tickets are going to be on the horse in the pool, right? And you think Expressman has a higher shot of winning than I do. And that's why it's a single for you. I think Expressman has a lower shot, is going to get all of the tickets. So for me, that's a horse that I just try and beat, right? And that's
part of the problem is it's like who did you use? I didn't even see you use
I used the 2 Browns, Nabokov and McKulick. And the main reasoning is the 3 and the 4 are going to go. The 4 with Saez will 100% send. I think it's going to be three horses that are banging heads up front, and I'm hoping one of the 2 of them can sit right behind and pick up the pieces.
If Nabokov wins, I might fall over dead. I'm not even kidding you. Like, that's how little I think of him. Now, the 2 is interesting because it's first time on the dirt, so you really don't know, right? I mean, he'll either take to it or not. I mean, that's why don't you just single the 2?
Because I actually like Nabokov on the cutback. I think sending him to a 1.16 and a 1.8 was not what the horse wanted to do. And now we're getting back to a distance where I think we have a little bit better of a shot of getting the job done. He shows speed going longer. He should be able to close, should have more stamina. I think this race is going to fall apart. And I think that's how you beat Expressman here. Well, it has a logical setup for it to fall apart, going 7 furlongs with 3 speed horses.
No, you're not wrong. That's how he's going to lose. He gets worn out for sure. If I remember right, his stablemate was right next to him the whole time on the first race. So
yeah, they ran 1-2.
What's that?
They ran 1-2, and he was never really pushed early, right? He just kind of galloped away from everybody. And we all thought that Unlimited Potential was going to go by when Unlimited Potential, who was sitting behind him, not actually pressing him, swung out to the 2 path and couldn't get by him.
Yeah. The other weird thing about that race is there's been no runners come out of it yet. So all we have to trust is the numbers at this point. It's not like we haven't seen an over number given race at Saratoga. I don't know how to say that any better than that, but yeah, we'll see. I think I think it didn't turn into a debate because it depends on your opinion, and you know what I mean? Like,
that's the beauty of horse racing, isn't it? Is that it depends on your opinion. Like that, and then betting your opinion correctly. You have to have an opinion and then bet it correctly. In this case, you singling the 7 with your opinion is correct, and me not using the 7 with my opinion is correct.
Well, now listen now, Dr. Tang, and in Somich's opinion, we're both right no matter what happens.
That's correct as well.
And that's insanity. But anyway, I just think it's funny that the 5 you just have trashed publicly, and the 7 you love.
Well, I liked the 7 a lot. I actually like the running mate more. Again, it's situational here for me. I was correct on trashing Nabokov, so maybe I'm correct when picking Nabokov. You got to, but yeah, for me, it's just these are the horses that I rarely play. I rarely use them, and this is an extreme example of the horses I rarely use, because this one is just like off the chart. This is like Hidden Scroll first race, right?
Yeah.
Where and ironically he's running tonight. That's why he popped into my head. Never came back to run that same number again. And that, like, you got to kind of wonder, is that really a one? Like, there's too many question marks for me in a spot where you're taking on winners, taking on older. Like, there's so many things here that can get him beat.
Yeah, his talent could give him a really easy 8-length win too. That's the problem. The only horse that I can remember you using this year in a race like this is St. Tappet.
Yeah. Yep.
So
I love St. Tappet.
I know you do. And you used him and you were right. Oddly enough, he was an allowance, Somich. Just saying.
Well, look, it goes back. What do you think how often do you think they're going to win? How many tickets they're going to take? That was a 12-horse field. And St. Tappet was 8-5, 9-5. I thought St. Tappet should be even money. So that's a spot where I'm going to be using St. Tappet. And at that big of a difference, I can even use multiple horses in that race if I really want to. But that goes back to what your beliefs are and then how you structure the tickets around those opinions. Yep.
No, I agree. Definitely a different circumstance. There were other horses to bet in that race. Yeah.
Yeah. Because look, if Expressman goes down and I hit the rest of this thing, it's paying $4,000 minimum. Right. Yeah, I mean, and if Expressman wins and I used him, it's probably a $200 ticket.
I don't know. These pick 5s, they surprise you.
Yeah, I guess it could pop up a little bit more if the 8 loses the last and I get the single and it's the 6 instead of the 3. But a lot of things have to go right for it to be that level of a ticket. And so, look, if I have to rip my ticket up 75% of the time, but the other 20% when I get through that race, I don't think the other 3 have very much of a chance. That gives me the opportunity to win. What is that? I don't know. 500x my money. That for me is a worthwhile gamble.
Well, I'm going to go straight exact, a 7-5. You talked me into Nabokov, and it'll pay like 5-1. And we talked about that on Blinkers Off for 20 minutes on straight race wagering. So that's what I'm going to do. Straight. Dude, just go with a try, man. 7-5-2 and call it a day. 7-5. I'm an exacta guy.
All right. You guys are coming on here for Dude Bet Sports in about an hour. Make sure everyone is checking that out. Papa Dude, Aaron, working up toward that Thursday night football game. Magic, you want to jump back in? We'll kick Aaron out.
Bye, everyone.
He doesn't even want to jump back in. He's like, I'm kind of just enjoying this. Yeah, it's going to be a fun race now. That's the interesting part. And I also agree with Aaron. I don't think either of us is wrong if we both are betting the way that our opinions line up.
I just love Dr. Tank's comment that it went longer than the burgers and sandwiches.
Well, that one actually has some value for people who care about horse racing and are listening versus the burgers and sandwich one, which has absolutely no value and Dr. Tang is still wrong about.
If value is what you want, tune into Dude Who Bet Sports. It'll be Aaron with Papa Dude. They're going live it was 1 hour, right, Aaron? Yeah, you're going live at it was 6 Central, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. And then, of course, the man right above me here, Mike Somobomb, is going to be with Saratoga Slim for the Week 2 Thursday Night Football halftime show. And, buddy, your first one was a success. You gave out some winning picks.
Yeah, we had the second half winner. We had the Bills -1 in the second half, which we gave out. We were shocked that that was a -1 number after watching that first half with 4 turnovers. My best bet of the week, the Giants, 6.5 came through, plus 6.5. That was a little sweaty in the first half, but ended up to be a nice little victory. So we got best bet coming there. Slim's going to give out a couple props. We'll give out our second half play, talk about the first half. Should be a great game, man. I'm looking forward to actually watching this one, too.
Saratoga Slim has been doing Slim Pickens. It's his new Thursday Night Football prop bet series, or football prop bet series. He does it for Thursday Night Football, Monday Night Football, and of course, the big games on Sunday. This is his one for Thursday Night Football. Tune in. And then also, if you missed it, due to Bet Daily this morning, he had a +9. It was a 9-1 shot.
Yeah, plus 970. Same game parlay for that one. So
for Thursday Night Football.
Video. Check out the YouTube video. Got all our best bets. 3 of them, I think, were on this game. So you have 3 bets for the Thursday Night Football game if you're interested in that. Make sure you check it out YouTube Bet Daily every Wednesday through Sunday at noon Eastern. But a little bit of a heater here, up over almost $2,500 off a $100 base unit right now.
We have been doing pretty good. I will be back. Hopefully, wait, what's tomorrow? Friday? Hey, I got CFL game tomorrow. All right, so I'll be back, see if I can keep my CFL streak going. But let's see. Tune in next. Tune in tomorrow. It's every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. I'm sorry, Saturdays it is 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, because we got college football we want to talk about. So until then, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this week, guys.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
If you do not agree with this, you're cursed.